Hello, Mason Storm here. On today's episode, we're going to be making a cheap cut of meat, and this time we're going to be using the full chicken leg, and we're going to be stuffing it. So I'm going to show the deboning process. We're going to make a stuffing, we're going to stuff it, we're going to bake it, so stay tuned to see how it's done. To begin the process, I'm going to be using a smaller knife than usual. I'm going to be using the smaller blade because the larger 8-inch chef knife is just a little bit too unwieldy. And we're going to begin by removing this end bone on the chicken leg here. Don't exactly know what it's called, but it's easy enough to remove. Just slide the knife between the bone and the meat on the top side and then just kind of hack away at it to remove it where it connects to the other bone, like so. And then once that's removed, then we just have one bone, we need to follow that down towards the knuckle where the two bones kind of connect. So we kind of just hold up on it and then just kind of slide around the outside perimeter of the bone with the blade, and that will kind of separate the two. And then we're at the knuckle. And I like to kind of crack the knuckle before moving forward because I find that to be a little bit easier. Now from this stage you have two choices. You can either cut into the knuckle and separate the two bones, or try to cut around it, which is what I'm going to do here. And you cut around it, you just kind of do a little bit of a cut, you turn it, you cut a little bit more, and a bunch of little cuts to get around the knuckle. Because once you're around the knuckle, you're kind of home free, because then it just slides out the entire bone. It can take a little bit of time, a little bit of patience to get there, but if you're holding the bone from above and you're cutting down and it's below you, you can't really cut yourself. And if you do nice shallow cuts, you won't really cut all the way through the meat, even if you do screw up a little bit. So then there's no chance of real harming it. And once the knuckle's separated, you saw I just kind of pulled it through. You're not really supposed to do it. You want to kind of pull it till it's kind of snug, and then kind of cut the skin and then separate the bone that way. And there we go. We have ourselves a deboned leg, primed and ready for stuffing. Now I'm just going to do that with the other two. And as you'll see from the speed of it, every time you do one of these, you get better at doing the next one. And I think the knuckle is the most tricky part, and once you get good at doing that, it doesn't take very long to debone these things at all. Of course, I'm going to speed this up tremendously because I don't really have anything else to say about the process of deboning the chicken leg. So now we can move on to doing our seasoning and stuffing. So I got some spices, some broccoli, some cheddar cheese that I've already grated up. And then of course I got my chicken all ready to go. Now my spices is just a mix of onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, cayenne pepper, just kind of the usual stuff. Nothing crazy, not reinventing the wheel or anything. And we're just going to mix all of that together, and then we'll have our nice stuffing. Something you may want to do too is cut up the broccoli into nice small pieces, or even blend it up so it's almost like a paste, and that might be a little bit better than doing it with whole pieces of broccoli like I did here, because the distribution of spices becomes a little bit tricky when you have larger pieces of broccoli, whereas if you have smaller ones, then it's almost like a slurry. And now that we have our spices and everything mixed up, I got my cooking sheet here, and there's our chicken. So now what we got to do is we just stuff our chicken with the mixture of stuff, our broccoli, cheese, and spice mixture, and just kind of pop it into the cavity that was left where we deboned it, where we took out the bone inside the leg. And then I'm going to put a little bit more in the end little piece, and then kind of flip it over and hold it nice and tight, and it will kind of hold its shape. And I'm going to repeat that process with the other two. Something you can do too is if you don't want to rely on just holding the thing together by its positioning, you can use toothpicks and run them through to kind of staple the top half of the chicken together. But it works good just kind of folding it over like this. As long as it's not too runny, when it bakes it will kind of hold its shape, so you're all set afterwards. And I ran out of my broccoli cheese mixture, so I ended up making up a little bit more of it. It's one of those things you want to make the least amount possible, because everything that's kind of left over you have to toss at the end because food poisoning. Because I've had my hands in the raw chicken and into the broccoli. I can't make a salad out of that now. So I'll just have to clean that up and toss it. And I like to kind of clean off a little bit of the extra cheese that's on my cooking sheet, so it's a little bit easier to clean up afterwards. Just kind of makes things a little bit easier. And then a couple of cracks of black pepper on the top, and then we can get this into the oven. And I'm going to bake this at 400 degrees for about 45 minutes. And that's it. That's pretty easy to make, I think. And when you're done baking it, you can check it with a thermometer to see if it's done. 165 degrees Fahrenheit is kind of the target range we're looking for. And because it's all cooked now, it all holds together really good, so you can just get your lifter underneath it, lift it off, put it on the plate, and you're good to go. It might be the type of thing, though, you might want it to cool down a little bit so the cheese isn't super liquidy and has a little bit more tact, but that's up to you. Any way you want to have it, it's delicious. If you like my content, would like to see more of it, please like and subscribe. And anything you want to post below, any tips or concerns or suggestions, leave them in the comments. And until next time, stay awesome.